Remastered games are always a treat. There's nothing quite like the feeling of being able to play a blast from the past with improved graphics, gameplay, and performance. But I believe that there is a time and place for certain titles to be remastered. We have seen many games remastered, for example, Skyrim, The Last of Us, Dark Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, and that's just to name a few. But there is a fine line to what should be remastered. When Infinite Warfare finally released in November 4th, 2016, they added an additional game to the mix. Infinity Ward decided to add the company Raven Software to the development of the game to design and remaster Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1. Call of Duty Modern Warfare was released November 5th, 2007, so it was insanely impressive to see this game fully remastered with upgraded graphics. It absolutely blew my mind when I first saw it. But that does not mean it is perfect. It had a huge flaw that really weighed down the game as a whole and killed pretty much the whole experience. That huge flaw was the multiplayer. Multiplayer is always a fun element to games, but it's a much different story when you try to remaster a game that has very rememberable multiplayer. It causes people to have a nostalgia feel when loading up and playing the game. But things change and people change as well. People are what make up a multiplayer community, and as humans we tend to progress and change as we grow as individuals. So the multiplayer experience that you know and love from 11 years ago will be a completely different experience. People adapt to certain glitches and bugs. They also adapt to different games and other playstyles. And when they return to past games, such as COD 4 Remastered, they implement their new techniques into the game, pretty much changing the whole feel that we used to know and love. That can drastically impact the gameplay and feel of the game for a lot of OG gamers, especially the ones who don't have time or cash to be playing every COD title that comes out yearly. So when they load up Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, they are expecting the same exact feel that they felt 11 years ago, which sadly they will not be able to revisit. On a positive note, the campaign was absolutely amazing. Being able to play through the whole classic Call of Duty 4 campaign again, with improved graphics, was just stunning. And just like any other COD campaign, it felt like a movie, especially with the improved gameplay mechanics and visuals. So there is a very fine line when remastering a game, especially when you decide to add the multiplayer element into the mix. I always will enjoy a classic campaign, but when I play multiplayer games, my mindset changes and my playstyle changes too. So playing all these different COD titles, from Call of Duty World at War all the way up to Call of Duty Black Ops 4, there's been a lot of gameplay changes and huge differences that we had to adjust to when it comes to the multiplayer gameplay. I also wanted to add some numbers into the mix for this video just to prove a point. I think Xbox is doing everything right at the moment. They decided to pretty much make almost every past COD title backwards compatible. What does backwards compatible mean, you might ask? Well, if you go to the store such as GameStop or Walmart and see a Xbox 360 version of Black Ops 1 or even Modern Warfare 2, you can plop that sucker straight into your Xbox One S or X, and you can play the same exact game that you played 8+ years ago. Same graphics, same game style, same tactics, and pretty much the same community. Activision decides to keep the servers running for these games, and in return, they pretty much get more players currently playing the game compared to a more fresh title such as World War II. It's crazy to think that a game that came out 8 years ago, that was the same exact graphics, can get more popular than a more polished game with improved graphics. It really says a lot about the games we used to play back in the glory days of COD. But I did a little research for the amount of players that are currently playing COD Modern Warfare Remastered on a daily basis, and the numbers did not show up so positive. If you take some time to look at the picture I am posting up now, you will notice the majority of players who played the remastered version of Modern Warfare 1 was during the first month of its release in November, maxing the peak players at 6,075 total. It was a decent start for a remastered COD title on PC, but then they took a huge L, losing almost 50% of the player base in 1 month, dropping down to a depressing 2,086 peak players in the month of December. Then of course the numbers just keep going down from there, and the current peak players for this current month is now 157 players. Now I personally think this is hilarious, but let me show you another image. If you take a look at this chart, this is the player count for the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not the remastered version. This game is actually bringing in more players monthly than the remastered version of this game, peaking their players at 326 this month, compared to a sloppy 157 total players. But how is this possible? How come a game with much more improved graphics and gameplay can still do worse than the original copy? I am telling you all, it is how the game plays. When you remaster a game and change the graphics and style, the whole game will change with it. Also, new players who have never tried COD 4 will find that this is the perfect time to pick up the game when it is remastered. So you have many new players with different play styles trying out the game as well. Then of course, on PC COD 4, you have a bunch of mods and fun things that you can do, which you can't do on remaster unless you want to get banned, but that is besides the point. I think the core gameplay of COD 4 is a much more appealing experience. The number one thing I hear on a day-to-day basis is how everyone wants a remastered version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Don't get me wrong, I would love if Infinity Ward and Activision decided that it is time for a Modern Warfare 2 remaster. But at this point, I don't think it would be a great idea to remaster the multiplayer. I think their best bet would be to design a new game, such as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. This would allow them to keep the up-to-date style of gameplay that COD is trying to produce, but at the same time bring back the nostalgic feel of modern-day combat. Our last modern combat Call of Duty game we played was 7 years ago. 7 insanely long years ago. And this game was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. You can say that COD Ghost was modern day, but I personally consider that game near future, if anything. But 7 years is a long time to go without another modern day shooter. So I think fans are craving a modern day COD title, and they would pretty much take anything, even a remastered game, to get that modern day feel back. But I love Modern Warfare 2 way too much to watch them kill it. COD Modern Warfare 1 was an amazing game, and I remember back when I used to go over to my friend's house because I didn't have an Xbox at the moment, and we'll stay up all night playing COD 4 on his dad's Xbox. Insanely fun times, but after playing the remastered version of COD 4, I finally understand that these key moments I had in life cannot be relived, no matter how much I want them to happen again. A remastered multiplayer game can't bring these moments back. But if they remaster the Modern Warfare 2 single player, that would be a different story, which is what I think Activision should urge the developers like Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer to do. Create a new Call of Duty masterpiece. Keep the trend going by adding new features and gameplay mechanics, but give us a little blast to the past by remastering these single-player campaigns for Call of Duty. They would just have to do the same thing that they did with Infinite Warfare. Purchase the $80 to $100 version of the game, get a remastered campaign included, even though I wish they would just add it into the standard $60 game. But this is Activision we are talking about. Do you really think they're going to allow such a money-saving steal to go past them? No, they're not going to do that. But at the end of the day, remastered games will always be fun. I'll forever enjoy being able to go and play games from my past with better performance and graphics. Just gives me a good feeling. I do hope that games like Call of Duty and Battlefield will try to not remaster multiplayer games. COD already did it once, which turned out to be a pretty big failure, even though COD 4 Remastered looked absolutely gorgeous. The gameplay was just not up to par for a modern COD title. Battlefield has yet to release any remastered titles yet, but that is perfectly fine with me. I'm not sure if Battlefield will ever remaster a title in the first place, Seems that the majority of the Battlefield fan base prefers the multiplayer over single player, which pretty much scraps the idea of remastering the single player campaign. Even though there were some good campaigns such as Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2, but I think the majority of the fans would just prefer EA DICE to keep their focus on their next upcoming title, to make it the best they possibly can. But that sums up this video, everyone. Make sure you leave in the comments section on your personal opinions about this discussion. Should more companies remaster multiplayer games, or should they solely focus on creating a new masterpiece? I'm always curious and excited to see what everyone has to say. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed watching, and dislike the video if you hate it, and don't forget to smack that subscribe button for some more content. And as always, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.